Talking with the experts.
In episode 355, Danielle Levy explains how operationalising values directly leads to greater sales.
Sure. For me, it's a combination of what my personal core values are and also a reflection on the kinds of companies that I've worked in before and what I've liked about them and what I haven't liked about them. And I think core values may, I guess, expand or be modified over time. And I don't think, I think as the business evolves, I think those core values can also change, right? I have one client that one of their core values is the customer is not always right. And the reason that he feels that way is let me say this. When he started, it was the customer is always right. He believed in delivering the highest level of service. Now he says that the customer is not always right. He still delivers with that highest level of service, but he doesn't want to do it at the cost of the business or the team. And that took years.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Danielle Levy, and Danielle is going to be discussing with us how operationalizing values directly leads to greater sales. I need to put my teeth back in. So operationalization values promotes a culture of ownership, transparency, collaboration, and ultimately a customer-centric experience. An additional benefit is decreased turnover and improved cross-training because team members are motivated and feel supported in their roles. And it's very important, especially with a lot of people working from home, they seem to lose that little bit of connection with the business. Welcome, Danielle, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So tell me, how did you get into doing what you're doing at the moment?
Sure. So I had a very successful career working in digital consulting companies, marketing communications agencies, the best in the area. And that I did that for 15 or 20 years or so. And it was a wonderful experience, but it led me to burnout. So I went to graduate school and thought that would help me figure out what I was going to do when I grew up, and it didn't. I got a fancy degree, met some great people, learned a few things, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And shortly after that, I had a milestone birthday where I said, I just want to have fun. And I just want to really celebrate in a way that feels good to me. And I ended up at it was a women's summer camp, actually, which sounds kind of cult-like, but it was really the most wonderful experience doing all those things as adults that we had done with kids with a little bit of extra adult fun. And what I didn't realize was some of the biggest influencers in the online space were also there for a retreat. And so we had many, many hours together. And I got to know all of these influencers, not with any idea of who they were or the size of their business or anything like that. And by the end of the trip, I got to know a couple of the integrators and support staff, and basically they said that they're all under NDAs and confidentiality agreements, and if there was an overflow of client work, would I be interested in helping out? And I said yes, of course. And so quickly I was launched into this A-list of clients that I still look back and I can't believe I had that opportunity through truly taking a chance on myself and just wanting to celebrate that birthday in a really special way. And it launched my career in the online space from there.
Wonderful. It's just being at the right place at the right time. Sometimes serendipity plays a big role in where we progress to in life. So
It
your
does.
business, the Boardroom League, what does it do?
Sure. So when I got into the online space and I was surrounded by all these fabulous influencers, I mean, just huge names, I felt like a new kid in a playground. I'd been very successful and I always knew what to do and who to bring in. And all of a sudden was very insecure about how do I prove my worth? How do I show up? How do I perform at my best? And what I had for me going with me was my network. And so I brought with me all of these great people that continued to propel my career forward. Over time, I realized that I wasn't quite working with a type of coaches and influencers that I wanted to be working with, but I also wanted to be able to offer other entrepreneurs a similar experience where they had a trusted group of people that they could rely on. To come into their business and service them in a way that they needed to be serviced. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to either don't have the time, don't know where to start, can't even diagnose the kinds of needs that they had. And here I was with literally this little black book of experts that has saved me, that had saved my clients. And there was my new business.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
well done to you. So how do you help business owners, with this operationalizing values?
Sure. I think I think that a lot of people don't articulate or don't live their or reflect their core values in their businesses, or they expect that team members should just understand, right? And a lot of the businesses that I work with, they're solopreneurs that grow into having an entire team. And when you're in that momentum of the business growing, you bring people on, there's another problem, there's another pivot in the business, and it goes from there. So what I do with the CEOs and leaders that I work with is really work to understand what those core values are and then break them down to every area of the business so that it becomes very clear to people working on the team, and not only the team members, but the clients that they're servicing, what they can expect in terms of the amount of effort that they put in terms of the quality that is expected, in terms of the experience that they're receiving, so that the team and the client are very much an extension of the vision that has been set forth by the business.
Yeah, it's very important to, I guess, share with your team members the core values of the business. It's no good keeping them to yourself because each person has their own ideas, and it needs to be made really clear to team members that what the core values are and what's expected of them. And a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess in what ways can employers propagate these core values and bring them to the team, and so that it's understood by everybody within the organization?
Sure. So I do think they need to be visible to team members and to clients at all times. I think a great way to do that is to just put them right up on your website. This is what we stand for. This is what we expect. Specific examples, that the ways that I've seen this play out. For example, I have a client, one of their core values is personal and professional alignment. That directly correlates to the work that the HR and the recruiting department is doing as they're vetting new candidates. That is what they're looking for: personal and professional alignment. I have another client that their core value is resourcefulness, and so that means when the team members are working together, they're expected to go that extra mile to make sure that they push their deliverables to the highest level that they possibly can and do as much problem solving as they can. I have another a client that is, one of their values is focused on creativity, right? So that is just infused in everything that they do. And if an assignment is given, option 1 is given, option 2 is given that maybe is in scope, but option 3 really aligns with that value of creativity. So again, it really just showcasing those values just influences every area of the business.
Yes, and so how do people come up with these core values so that, that they can promote them within the business? It's, I mean, there's things like integrity and honesty and all of those things, but how does someone develop these core values within their business?
Sure. For me, it's a combination of what my personal core values are and also a reflection on the kinds of companies that I've worked in before and what I've liked about them and what I haven't liked about them. And I think core values may, I guess, expand or be modified over time. And I don't think, I think as the business evolves, I think those core values can also change, right? I have one client that one of their core values is the customer is not always right. And the reason that he feels that way is let me say this. When he started, it was the customer is always right. He believed in delivering the highest level of service. Now he says that the customer is not always right. He still delivers with that highest level of service, but he doesn't want to do it at the cost of the business or the team. And that took years of building the business to make that distinction for him. So most important, I think, it's just getting something down and reflecting on what those values are as the business continues to grow and you understand who you are as a leader and what your expectations are for your team.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. What are the most quirky core values that you've come across?
I don't know that I've really seen any quirky core values. I think a lot of what I have seen is a misalignment of core values, where leaders are saying this is, how I expect my team to work, or this is what I stand for, but it's actually not reflected in the leader's behavior or words. But I don't really think I've seen any quirky, but I have really appreciated a number of the core values that I've seen that some of the leaders have put out.
Yeah, it is very important for the leader, owner, business owner, whoever, to actually live those core values. Otherwise, it's going to be some disconnect between what the core values that the business owner says that he has, and then what the team members actually see from them. So, how can team members or people outside that organization, bring to the attention of the business owner that they're not living up to their core values?
Well, one of my core values, or two of my core values, are transparency and accountability. And so I think for me, I like to work with leaders to make sure that there's mechanisms to receive communication from team members, whether that's direct conversations, whether that's anonymous surveys, however they can gather that information. I think it's really important for leaders to create the mechanisms to receive all kinds of feedback in the organization, and then to have real an open mind and open ears to really think about what that means, and specifically sharing with the team, hey, these are core values and I know that I'm not perfect. If you see me out of alignment with them, or another team member out of alignment, let's call each other out on them, because it's only going to elevate the organization altogether.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's you're right. There does have to be mechanisms in place to bring everyone into the same sort of line, to make sure that they're all following the same ideals of the business. But I liked transparency. That was really nice. That's one of my ones. I don't like people who aren't transparent. It really annoys me.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think that everyone should have that, and that should be a core value that's written down somewhere for everyone to say.
Yes. Yes. And you know what, if I could just say, I had someone challenge me once on the core value of transparency. I don't think it's appropriate to share every bit of information with every person or customer or whoever it might be. But I do think owning the conversations and being deliberate in the explanations for what's appropriate or not, or really being direct in the level of transparency is something that I think is incredibly important.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of businesses who say one thing and do something else, and it it makes for not a great customer experience at all, and it's difficult. So I guess using these operationalization values. I can't get that word out this morning. I don't know why. It's not rolling off the tongue.
No.
How can we, I guess, show our customers, clients, that we have these core values, that we say that we live by, and what happens if mm, the customer doesn't feel they've had a good customer experience, and you haven't followed your core values?
Well, I think that's where you see customer churn, right? And so I think something that I always go back to is looking at metrics. And you can very easily track what's coming into most any inbox. You can very easily track refund rates. You can very easily track most things. And so having your eye on what your numbers are, whether it's revenue or refunds or customer service inquiries, or however you're tracking your KPIs, is a real indicator, I think, of what your customers are doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. I'm glad you thought of that. And my brain's obviously quite dead this morning.
No, not at all. This is what I do, and this is what I love to talk about.
Oh, terrific. Um, Danielle, have you written a book about any of this at all?
I have not. I have not. Maybe one day. I have so many different ideas for the book that I want to write. I have to really think about how I want to bring all of the elements together.
Yeah, I think that's how most people are. They've got the ideas, and they just haven't got the I don't know, impetus to write it all down. It's still stuck in their head, and it's not so
Yeah.
easy. Some people say, just write it down, but it's not as easy as it sounds. I'm very guilty of that, and yeah. Danielle, where can people find you if they'd like to know more about what you do or to work with you?
Sure. So I'm at danielleclevy.com online, and then my Instagram handle is Danielle_C_Levy.
Lovely. And then do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, I would I think the topic that we've covered is a real big one. And I think values trickle through every part of the organization. And I think as entrepreneurs, there's so many things to do all the time, right? Or there's those things that we keep putting off that we know that we should do one day. And I would just encourage people to really think about what is the priority in their business, and is what can be done beyond kind of the busy work to really push the business forward. And even if it's something they're not comfortable with, or it's not the kind of thing that they like, just set aside, even if it's 15 minutes a day until the task is done, or just push the task as far forward as possible. I always use the analogy of an acorn, right? An acorn is incredibly small, and yet it sprouts the most magnificent oak trees, right? That are just so strong and sturdy. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's water, and it's sunshine, and it's, deep rooted. So I would encourage everyone to just continue to take those small steps to build out the kind of organization that they want to.
Absolutely perfect words of encouragement to small business owners, or even, ones from larger organizations, because I think we could all sometimes use a boot up the backside, and get these core values out to, and live by them, and don't just pay lip service to them.
I agree. That's the most important thing, right? It's if you're not living them, they're not going to have the impact that you want them to have.
Absolutely. Danielle, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.